Good morning, YouTube, and today I'm going to be profiling for you my Gravekeeper deck. I used this in the most recent remote duel invitational qualifier. Ended up taking 9th place, so I'm pretty proud of it. As you can tell, I try and pip it out as much as possible, but we'll get a little bit more into that at the end of it, so please stick around for that after the profile. But for those of you who just want to watch it, we're going to hop right into it with our playset of Ulti Gravekeeper Commandant. Commandant is the Earth Boy, searches Necro Valley. Most important card in the deck is Necro Valley, so you obviously want to search it. Playset of Gravekeeper's Spiritualist. Obviously, you want to protect your Necro Valley, so Supernaturalist is going to be your best way of doing that, and Spiritualist is the best way to get into that, so we play a playset of her. And the last 3 off of the Gravekeepers is a playset of Recruiter. Recruiter, whenever he's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can search out for a Gravekeeper with 1500 defense and add it to your hands. So you definitely want to run a playset of him in there. Probably the most expensive one for some reason. 2 Gravekeeper Spy. Spy has definitely lost some of its oomph. He's just really slow nowadays, but it's undeniable the impact that it has of being a free +1 and a 2500 defense. You can't argue with those stats, so we still run him in there as a 2 off. Along the same veins as Spy, we have Nobleman. Nobleman, whenever he's destroyed by battle and set to the graveyard, you can set a Gravekeeper directly from your deck to the field. So you can set a Spy as a tutor, you can use a Recruiter, you can set some of these other spicy things we have in here. All around, I like Nobleman in here, but you can elect to cut it if you wish. You could also set a Gravekeeper Guard. Gravekeeper Guard is like a Penguin Soldier, but for only 1 monsters. If you know Goat format, you know Guard. I still like him in there because he's a nice little spicy surprise. And 1 Gravekeeper's Descendant. Descendant is always great with your Spy. A great special summon. It either gives you to a rank 4 or is the ability to pop a card on the field by tributing off a Gravekeeper of any kind. So it works really, really wonderful with your Recruiter. So we still run him in there, and a 2000 attack monster with Necro Valley isn't anything to argue. The last of our Gravekeeper monster is Gravekeeper Visionary. I am one of those few people that still loves to run him. Him in himself is amazing. Okay, you can use him as a fusion material for Supernaturalist, right? You can use him as a single tribute to bring him out, and he automatically gains 200 attack for each Gravekeeper in graveyard plus the 500 from Necro Valley, and he has battle protection. So all in all, or destruction prevention more specifically, all in all, I absolutely love this dude. He just looks cool, so that's my guilty insert into the deck. Now, spicy tech. Zoroa, the Majestus of Flame. I'm a little bit new to the Majestus stuff. Obviously, it's some new stuff, so I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to butcher the names, but he is absolutely amazing. The purpose of including him is to give you some extensions during turn 1. Obviously, your Spy doesn't give you that much of an extension, and if you don't have the ability to defuse turn 1, you don't have much of a ways to go. But whenever he is normal summoned, you can equip him with Majestus from your extra deck and special summon a level 4 from your hand or graveyard of a spellcaster, more specifically. So obviously, the most one that you want to go for is your Commandant, right? Ditch Commandant, search Necro Valley, bring out Zoroa, bring back your Commandant, go into a rank 4, or go to the level 8 Synchro. So running him as a 2 off is really cool. You don't see him too often if you run him as 2 rather than 1 or a 3. So I obviously really enjoyed this today, and it really came in clutch. A playset of Necro Valley, best card on the deck, arguably the best field spell. Yeah, don't at me. Next, we run a playset of Necro Valley Throne. Necro Valley Throne is your Rhoda. It searches any Gravekeeper or gives you the official normal summon of a Gravekeeper monster. Oh my gosh, Visionary can be normal summon. I'm just kidding. So anyway, so we run this in here as a playset. We run 2 Majestus Invocation. This is essentially a polymerization for spellcasters. It is technically searchable, but you won't be doing that very often. The reason I run this over like a polymerization or something else that's a little bit more reasonable is that you can use this, if you use a Majestus monster, you can also use the monster that's equipped to it. So that in itself is pretty fantastic. In the aspect of being a polymerization for spellcasters, it allows you to go into your Supernaturalist without having to fear of your Necro Valley getting popped beforehand or having your effects negated. So I like running this in there as a 2-off. And rounding up our spells, run 1 Pot of Desires. If you run 1 Pot of Desires, you'll never draw into another one because of it. It's kind of a foolish, weird thing, but I like it. A lot of people like to run Extravagance, but with how tight this extra deck is, I like Desires instead. You can also choose to run like Upstart, but I like the extra card this one gives. The 1 Hand Trap, Infinite Impermanence. Arguably the best hand trap. It gives more utility if it's set, obviously, and it's a monster negator. So it's awesome. 2 Imperial Tombs of Necro Valleys. This, as long as you control Necro Valley and a Gravekeeper monster, you can negate anything and destroy it. Fantastic. It's searchable, so you might want to bump it down to 1, but 2 has always done me pretty well. Next, run a playset of Solemn Judgment and a playset of Solemn Strike. Now, here's the thing. This ratio of 6, statistically, you should open up with 1 Solemn card in your opening hand, right? And that itself can be detrimental enough. Strike is arguably better nowadays because it can negate any monster effects as well as an inherent summon, special summon. But Judgment is kind of the same way. It takes more life points, but the nice part about Judgment is it protects you from Cosmic Cyclone, especially being the Lost Art, right? But Cosmic Cyclone is realistically the most common out to your Necro Valley because Commandant protects it from like Twin Twisters and that kind of stuff. So we run the Judgment and the Strikes in here for that. Now, rounding up our traps, we include the last spice of Storming Mirror Force. Mirror Forces I've always been a proponent of just because no one ever expects it, number 1. Number 2, usually the resources that they're going to get back to their hand by attacking, and obviously this doesn't destroy, so that gives rid of all that protection stuff. The resources they're going to get back to their hand are not necessarily going to be usable again. Like a lot of times they'll expunge all their resources just to get out those monsters. Obviously that's not always the case, but I like this in here as the playset. That's it for the main deck of 40 cards. Moving on to the extra deck. Of course, you run 2 Gravekeeper Supernaturalist. Definitely run 2 just because you will oftentimes find yourself going to a second one, even sometimes a third if you're like running Extravagance or if you fear some stuff from milling your extra deck to the graveyard. One amazing card, can get over Dragoons, absolutely fantastic. The next engine, obviously, is the Majestic stuff. When I first picked up or was looking into it, because I like to just read cards every now and then, I was like, oh, cool, Artemis is really cool because you can just normal summon Recruiter and then link it off for Artemis for link 1, and then you'll get the search off of the Recruiter. And then I read the rest of them, right? I don't run the Xyz because it requires more of like a Majestic heavy centric thing. But IWAS gives you 1000 attack boost and whatnot, but that's not the main thing, is that it can steal your opponent's monster if it's equipped to it. So you can special summon it, equip it to your opponent's monster, steal it, and take it as your own, which is kind of cool. And it gives you the ability to use that fusion from your spell and trap card zone. So it has that nice utility there. Oftentimes this will be just the generic one that I'll go for. But the one I like more so is to go into Varam, the Divinity Dragon, the cover card of the Archetype. Whenever he's equipped to a Majestus, you'll get that monster will get protection from spells and traps, and if that monster is involved in battle, it'll destroy it at the end of it. The additional thing is that this gives you the ability to pop all face-up cards or opponent controls if it is destroyed. That is absolutely amazing, and there's often times where your Necro Valley will be on the field, and that's going to be their first target, but if this guy's a pending threat, they'll have to get rid of him as well or first. So it demands an answer, and so I like this 3 card engine in the extra deck. Plus, they each can just be equipped one way or another. Now, the next engine is Utopia, Utopia Prime, Lightning, and Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. Now, here's the thing, okay, right? Everyone knows you can play Utopia and then Utopia Prime, right, on top of that. That's fine, okay? Lightning is in there. This used to be the bread and butter. Lightning, they can't respond to his attack, and he can detach 2 materials, and then he becomes 5,000. That's awesome. But the sad part is that you cannot overlay on top of Lightning Zeus, right? So the alternative is that you overlay for Prime, and then at the end of you attack with Prime. At the end of battle phase, you go for Zeus. Now this will give you a Zeus with two uses. So that in itself is worth it in my opinion. So that's why we keep that in there as is. Now the rest of the extra deck, you can load up with Link 2s, whatever you want to. I choose to run a bunch of rank 4s. Trapeze Magician, I don't like to lose the burn. So Trapeze Magician can get through that, and it can have some gimmicky OTKs. Tornado Dragon, Back Row, Baguska for special summons. Excite Knight, who's like a Zeus, but for like rank 4s, it's really cool. Abyss Dweller, because you don't like your opponent to use the graveyard at all. And Gaga Cowboy. Realistically, the Zora can give you access to any of these, plus the Utopia, on turn 1, whereas beforehand, you would have to use like a Necker Valley Throne in order to go into one of these. Okay? These give you utilization, right? A top deck, and for another instance too, let's say it's late game, you're grinding, you top deck as Aurora. Guess what? It gives you free access to any one of these guys, right? And utilize whatever you need in the situation. So that is my justification for that and my extra deck. Now just quick run through the side deck. I didn't end up using drawing into any of this today, or at least any of it that helped. But first off, run a playset of Royal Tribute. Now most people main deck Royal Tribute, but this is my thought process, is that you will not always win the die roll, so you will not always go first. If you're going second and you have this card, it is almost useless, right? Unless that they absolutely brick. But it's absolutely amazing if you have it and you're guaranteed to going first. So that's why I only side it for those guaranteed times. Now, the rest of it, you can do whatever you want to. I like to run board wipes, so I run Harpy's Feather Duster, Raigeki, and Lightning Storm. Red Reboot because, traps, if you can get through that aspect, then you're pretty set. Pankratops just for spot removal. Necker Valley on legs. That's essentially what Ghost Spell is Necker Valley on legs, and you can use her going second. So, yeah, so we side her in there for whenever we need more Necker Valley, right? And then last rounding up, we're on Artifact Lancia. Obviously, you can do with this whatever you wish. And that's going to wrap up my Gravekeeper deck profile. I absolutely love this deck to pieces, and if it's one of those decks that, if this was the last thing, if I can only have one deck for the remainder of Yu-Gi-Oh, it would be this deck. It's just so fun, and the ability of having the Majestic stuff makes it a nice little spice. Obviously, you can tell I play it not like everyone else, but I get results. And speaking of results, this remote invitational was really kind of cool. It was mostly Drytron and Virtual World and then the Dragon Links. But out of those, my matchups, it was 5 round Swiss plus top 8 cut, which I actually had the same record as as 5th through 8th place. I just happened to be the one person that didn't get top cut, which is fine. My matchups were 2 Drytrons, which I won and lost against against those, and 2 of the Dragon Links, which I won and lost against those as well, which is cool. So I know I can beat those, and then Virtual World, which I won against. If you get the ability to go first, more than likely you're going to win. In those wins, I 2-0'd them, so I was quite fortunate. It can survive going second. And I'm not saying this as a negative on their part. Obviously, this is a very competitive event, but it was also quite fun. And I definitely recommend it if you ever get the chance to do it. If you have any suggestions as to what you would put in it, please put them down below. Right? People a lot of times will read the comment section just for the suggestions. Obviously, I'm a stubborn old man and I'm kind of committed to my ways. So if you try and say something, I'll kind of take it in one ear and out the other when it comes to this deck. But other people really, really look for that for constructive criticism. So please include that if you wish. I'd like to thank Kevin at Fireheart Games for putting on the event that let me Yu-Gi-Oh! Day so I could attend this qualifier. And then all the people who go to Fireheart Games, they're all just super awesome and really supportive, and really have helped me understand this format. And then the rest of the Sonic Ducks, of course, we spent the night before even just playtesting, so it was really nice of them to do that. And then last but not least of the thank yous, Alien Games. They're based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was fortunate that was the that was who organized and was the affiliate of my invitation, my Group A. And I've gone to regionals there multiple times in Tulsa, and they're always just the utmost professionals. So huge shout out to them. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a great day. Bye.